All right, we are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. Our second guest is not in the house, but online and joining us electronically. I believe Tom Morales is with us, founder of Tomkats Hospitality. Can you hear me, Tom?
I hear you loud and clear.
Thank you for joining us. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming on this morning. We had some technical difficulties there for a moment with the mayor, but got through it. And listen, all right, so we've talked to the mayor about his phases and how it goes, and a lot of people seeing, what's happening with the governor's order around the state and restaurants. Let me ask you, from your perspective right now, what's going to be the priority for, there's someone else on the screen there. That's our next guest. It's going to be, I think, Beth Brown. Okay, hang on. Let's see if we can come back to Tom. Tom, we got you on the phone. Go ahead and tell me, what's the biggest concern you think for restaurants as they start phasing back in?
Probably all the touch points and contact points we have with customers and trying to figure out how that's going to work. And I think the psychological trauma that we've all experienced is going to be the main thing that we have to overcome. And without really a cure or a vaccine or an antibody test that allows people to feel back to normal in terms of interacting with other people, I think that's the biggest challenge.
Okay, and I want to say, Miss Brown, if she's still on hold over there, stay tuned. Call back in about 10 minutes, and that's when we'll have you on right after Tom, if you want to call back. Tom, let me ask you, how many people do you have out of work right now, or how many have you been able to keep on?
Well, we're probably in the neighborhood of 300 people. We've got bringing back some of them as of last week, we brought back our core crew, our crisis team, and we're looking at bringing everybody back in the next coming few weeks. It's just, and then when you count subcontractors like musicians and people that, work for us on a 1099 form, it's a bigger number than that.
Do you think the restaurants, and I'm just trying to figure this out, they'll be able to, and I know statewide it's a little different than what's happening in Metro, but in general, when those phases come in, it starts off with allowing only 50% of the restaurant to be full. And I'm trying to imagine, there's some restaurants out there that are only maybe have tables for 10 people. I'm just wondering, how is that going to be managed, and do you think they'll need to be enforced, those rules?
Well, I think for the customer's comfort, they'll have to be enforced. We're going to pass that stage. We're not even going to attempt. Our business models won't allow it. This is not just adjust our sales. So when you think half capacity, and then are the landlords going to give you half the rent?
Right.
All of a sudden, you're in a marginal business that's no longer has a margin. The utility companies, are they going to charge you half the electric bill? No.
Right.
I mean, so there's bigger questions that have to be answered, and we're not getting any real leadership out of the federal government, because that's where the relief needs to come on city, state levels. I mean, and the small business people, if you look at it, 54% of the economic generator in this company is out of small businesses, and we're being totally left out at this point. So, we're not going to participate at all in the economy just to hasten our demise.
Right.
Because if we're in a coma right now, like we are, we're losing money every day. But if we open and we operate at a loss, we're going to be out of business before you know it. And then the courts are going to be jammed with people like me and every other small business owner declaring bankruptcy. The pain is going to go up. I will tell you that. The ivory towers will feel it at some point.
Yeah, and when you say the pain is going to go up, you mean how so? That this drags on? What do you mean the pain is going to go up?
Well, we have 80 vendors right now that are sitting there on, that we owe money to, and we've negotiated 90 days of no payment with a lot of them, and so if we can't get open and start cash flowing, those are going to just become debt that they can't collect, because we're going to be bad on money. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's a bigger problem than just saying let's open. I mean, if this is the way I see it. The industry is going to switch probably over to owner-operated small restaurants, which is fine. That's where I started. Mm-hmm. But restaurants built for volume will have to reinvent themselves, totally reinvent ourselves. So in places that have large crowds like honky tonks, there's a certain customer base there, the 40% that are going to come in no matter what, and they think that's smart and brave. we look at it differently. We look at it like we want our customers to come in and feel safe, know that they're coming into a good environment that is not going to create more illness, sickness. It's not going to put more tax our hospitals, our medical workers, and everything else. So we're taking it more from a scientific approach, and that way than just opening our doors and say, "Come on in." I don't care how stupid you are. I mean, I don't mean that disrespectfully.
No, I hear you.
Maybe I do.
I hear you. I think that's an incredibly responsible point of view on the restaurants, take, because if you come back too soon, and there's some debate even about that, and open up and it gets this way, I mean, isn't there the concern that if we do see a spike in the cases to the point where we're back to square one and you're shut down and starting this all over again, which, gosh, can you even imagine that?
Well, I've always pointed to August 1st as a date that we realistically could open, and we may open sooner than that, lunch only. The downtown workers have to return first, and then beyond that, then you have to, are we going to have fall sports, and what is that going to look like? If there becomes a quick test, then we're okay, where people could maybe even have a health card or something where they did a test within 24 hours or something, and then they could fill the stadium. If there's technology out there that could connect the test to the ticket. So these questions, we're going to sit and wait and see how these questions get answered. I don't feel like just opening the doors is a solution. People have to, 85% of the people said they won't get on an airplane right now and travel. So, then 82% said they won't go to a mass gathering, a music event, or a sporting event until this is solved. 75% said they won't come into a full service dining restaurant until this is solved, or they feel comfortable. So I think the trauma part, the testing part, has to happen first before we can really say the economy's back or coming back. I mean, again, I just say we hasten our demise if we open before it's time.
I could not agree with you more, sir. Listen, I really appreciate you, Tom, joining us this morning for this brief segment, but it gives us some perspective, and that we all sympathize with what restaurateurs are going through and the employees, and hopefully back sooner rather than later, but doing so safely. Thanks for joining us, sir. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And be sure and not let the mom and pa, we have two of the top 100 restaurants in America, but there's the Arnolds of the world that are run by the family. Don't forget those people.
I absolutely won't. Listen, thank you again, sir, for your time. We'll talk to you again soon if you have time for us, all right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. It's Tom Morales, of course, very closely linked to the restaurant business. He knows his stuff, and he speaks words of wisdom. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, our final segment this morning, Beth Brown, president. You saw her a moment ago, just a quick cameo, but very good of her to join us. Tennessee Education Association president. What's happening with the schools and the students, and how are the parents going to handle it if the kids are home and they have to go back to work? We'll take a break, be back with more right after this.